Welcome back to the folks that have done this several times before, or at least a few times before. And welcome to the new folks that haven't seen this yet. So, our vendor, Accounting Opinions, provides us with a tool called LibPass. It's library performance assessment software, and we use this to collect the annual report slash state aid application. We've been using this tool since 2013, and for the foreseeable future, we'll continue to use LibPass to collect this information. It's a two-part tool, and it allows us both to collect the state aid annual report application and allows users to pull out data that has been collected since 1996 to create their own custom reports. Today, we're going to just be focused on getting data into the software. So we're just going to focus on the state aid application, well, annual report slash state aid application. For the new folks, and just as a reminder to the folks that have done this before, our reporting timeline starts on October 1st of 2025 and will run through February 1st at 11:59 p.m. That's important because I can't accept a survey response outside that window. If your survey's not submitted within that time frame, basically you didn't apply for state aid that year. So it's very important to get it in that 4 month period. We have the longest period, response period in the United States currently. All the other states, generally it's a month to 2 months to complete, but we have a little bit more time. So October 1 to February 1. Once that clock ticks over and we're on February 2nd, I can't accept it. So definitely want to get it in that window. We are very available. If there are questions, anytime you have a question, feel free to contact me. We'll put my email and phone number in the chat, so you have that information if you didn't already have it. And then let's get going. Let's take a look at LibPass. So I'm going to share my screen. So please stand by. And again, sorry about the cough. Okay, let's just give this a couple of seconds. All right, you should be seeing the welcome screen. This is the LibPass landing page. Everybody seeing that? Okay, excellent. Thank you, Becky. So this is where you're going to log in. Now, I've sent emails already from mi@accountingopinions.com that really announced these two sessions that you signed up for, or one of the two that you signed up for, and it also gave you your username and password. Now, I'm going to send that out again on Friday, just so you've seen that username and password multiple times. So the directors are the key holders for your annual report stated application, and you'll use that username and password to log in. Now, if on Friday you do not see an email from mi@accountingopinions.com, contact me right away and we'll make sure that I have the right email for you. So it's going to the right person. And I know some libraries updated emails over the past few years. I'm pretty sure I've got everybody, but still human. So if you don't see anything on Friday, and I'll do it right around 10 a.m. So we've got a good timestamp. So 10 a.m. I'll send a message out welcoming you to the survey again with your username and passwords. And if you don't get one, please contact me at that email address, hamlinj2@michigan.gov. So this is the LibPass landing page. You can get to it by going to mi.accountingopinions.com, no www. And that's also in the emails I've sent from mi@accountingopinions.com. So there are a few functionalities that you can access before you log into the software. You can click on the libraries link, and this will take you to just a listing of all the library systems, and it's exportable into Excel if you want that list. Going back, if you click on locations, it's going to give you all of the library systems with their branches. Now, if you click on Excel, this Excel icon from this list, from the locations list, it'll generate an Excel file that also includes latitude and longitude if you wanted to do mapping. So that's available in there as well. Also shows the hours reported by the library. We'll go back home. And then there's a link to the library directory, and that's available either there or at michigan.gov/library directory. And I want to show you this because there's the old 1.0 version still out there. We've tried to quash it whenever we possibly can, but some libraries are still, maybe it's a saved URL. We've tried to do what we could to make it a 404, so when it opens up, it just says page not found, but we keep running into the 1.0 popping back up. The directory should look like this. This is the directory 2.0, and you should see check boxes for public library, academic, special, or school. If you don't see that, you're probably on 1.0. Again, if you go to michigan.gov/library directory, it'll take you to this one. It'll take you to the most current one. So this is what you want to see. The old one, you'll see the Library of Michigan logo here in the upper left will be huge and it'll be right in the center. You'll know instantly if you're on that one. Um, the issue is if you search in that one, there may be incorrect information in there because we tried to box it off. So when we get directory updates, we're not doing anything there. And hopefully, hopefully it'll be completely removed soon, if it's not already completely removed. But this is the directory you want. And then you can see up in the corner, it even says directory 2.2. Let me get out of here. Okay. Down at the bottom here, oh, of course, up here, you've got some links that you can use. Michigan.gov will take you to the state of Michigan's main page, not the library's page. Home takes you right back to this screen. You'll find home on several different screens as you move through the survey. That just takes you back to this screen right here. Contact Us takes you to the Library of Michigan's contact page, and then Library of Michigan takes you to the Library of Michigan's main landing page. We also have some buttons down here, the tutorials. This is where, without logging in, this is where you can see the videos like the one we're doing right now. After you log in, it will also show up under your login credentials uh, on your login screen. So you can get to it there as well. And then an FAQ, commonly asked questions. Michigan Reports Portal is old data. We are still working on deciding what that's going to be, how we should and what we should display there. And then, of course, my contact information is here. And then the links that I just talked about are duplicated down at the bottom. A couple of extras. You have mailing labels, which will generate an Excel file with address information. So you could create mailing labels if you were sending a communication via mail to your fellow library colleagues. The state of Michigan policy page is there. And if you have a directory update, if you look at your directory and see that something is wrong or something needs to be changed, you can click on this library directory updates and it'll give you a form to fill out. Once you submit this form, it goes directly to my email. It's likely that you're gonna probably need to do an update while you're in the library directory itself. You probably wouldn't be coming at it from this page, but it is there if you need it. And the link on the directory itself, if you see an update that needs to be made, goes to that same form. That same form comes to my email. So let's get in here. And we're going to use my login. So you're going to see some options that you won't have, but I'll discuss which ones you will see. Okay. First step after you log in, it's going to say welcome and then the name of your library. So you know that you're in your account. So that's one kicker right there, right in the middle of the screen. It's got the same links as the main page that we were talking about. You won't have all of these, but you will have profile, libraries, locations, log out, of course, home, data input, and reports. Those will all be there for you. Now, reports gets you to the other side of the tool that I was talking about earlier with that data from 1997 through last year, where you can create those custom reports. We're not going to focus on that today. We're going to go with the data input, and you can get into the survey by clicking on data input or by clicking on the enter button right in the center of your screen. The annual report refresher video, this one currently is last year's. So right after this is over, like I said before, we're going to take a look at the two recordings, pick the best one, and that will go to Becky so she can get it closed caption and it'll end up on YouTube and it'll also land here. So if you need that refresher, it'll be there right in that annual report refresher video. Again, we've got another button that takes you to directory updates. And that public library portal you'll see here is not really an active link. Again, the help tutorials and FAQ are there again, as well as the statement, because we do use LSTA dollars to pay for this service. So let's go into the report. So I'm just going to hit enter. And I could do that with data input too. So this is going to default for you. It's showing me all three surveys that I run. It's going to default for you on public library survey, and the period it will default on is FY25-26. Now that's based on my fiscal year. My survey opens on FY25 for the state and closes um, again February 1st, 2026. So that's all that's referring to. It's not referring to your fiscal year. The fiscal year you will be reporting on for this year is your last fully completed fiscal year prior to October 1 of 2025. So you could, we have 9 different fiscal years operating in the state for public libraries. So you could be on the 7/1 to 6/30. You could be on the April, March calendar year. The important thing is you're reporting a full year. So you're not reporting activity mostly. There's a caveat here. Uh, Activity that occurred after October 1st. It's all before. Now I say all before, and I already said there's a little caveat. Certain areas of the survey, I'm asking for current information. Current as of the day you were filling out the survey. And I'll discuss that further on in this presentation, but most of the data elements on the survey are asking for data that occurred during your last completed fiscal year prior to October 1st of 2025. So after we're logged in, I want to discuss some of the features that you have here. One of the features that has been useful for a lot of libraries is up here in the green bar, and it's called prompts. What prompts does is if I click on this, it's going to take me to a screen view that shows me all of the definitions for each question on the annual report. It'll also show any internal notes that you created. So an internal note is a note that is just for you. It lives until you remove it. So if you put in an internal note on your annual report in 2015 and haven't removed it, it's still there. And that's fine. Those are just for you. It might be maybe you wrote some notes on how you're calculating a certain thing, and that's going to be useful to you year after year. It's fine to leave it there. You can always go into an internal note and delete it when you're done with it. If you don't think you need it anymore, that's fine. This screen here, you can print it out. So if that's helpful to you to have a printed list, or you could go to the screen view constantly if you'd like. But if it's helpful to have a printed list, this is where you go to get it, just to show you, here's the data element name, here's the definition, and here's if I have any internal notes around that specific data element. Only 2 parties can see internal notes, and that would be me and whoever wrote the internal note. That's just because in the hierarchy, I'm the quote unquote super user for all of our accounts. I think they call it the parent user. So I can see all of those as well. So that's prompts. And yeah, feel free to print that out if that helps you. Or as I'm going through the survey, if I'm not quite sure what we mean by report start period, if I click on the item number, it'll open up the indicator with the definition and it'll show you any internal notes. So here's an internal note that I wrote on Tuesday, test note. And you can see I can remove that at any time. And now it's not an internal note on my report again. So see it's gone. One we did leave. Now this is from 10/12 of 2013. So this was the first year we used this survey. I put an internal note in. And any internal notes that I write, you'll be able to see as well. So that's prompts. Again, you can get it from clicking on the prompts button or by clicking on the question as you go through. Yeah, even zip code has a definition on it. And this is also where you could write your own internal notes. So if I had, usually you're going to use this when you want to remember a formula or you need a special note saying, oh, in my situation, I'm doing this because of X. You could write your note, and I'm just going to write a test note again and then hit add. So now when I go back to zip, there's my internal note right there. And it gives you the date stamp on when the internal note was created. So that's internal notes. Again, internal notes are just for you. Here, this notepad icon denotes an external note. So external notes are important, and you get to them and you can add them by clicking on the notepad icon right next to where you're putting data, right next to the entry boxes. What internal notes do are satisfy edit checks. They're also very useful for me when I'm vetting data. If I see a yellow notepad icon, I know that there's something there, and I'll go in and look at that because while I'm vetting the data and I'm packaging it to send it to IMLS for the National Public Library Survey, they're also going to vet what I vetted. And it's nice to have a concise note. Notes are definitely our friend. External notes are definitely our friends. Feel free to use them, even if you don't trip an edit check. So you can see that all of these are gray except for this yellow one here, which means something was entered. So if I click on it, I can see I had a test note on Tuesday. If I decide I don't need that note, I can just hit the red X. It'll ask me if I'm sure I want to delete it. If I hit OK, it goes away. I, I said that these satisfy edit checks. Now, what an edit check is if it thinks something's out of range. Say you had 6,000 books in your inventory, and this year you reported 60,000 books in your inventory. It's going to go, wait a minute, that's quite the leap. So, can you explain one, if it's correct? Can you explain why that was so high? And two, if it trips it and you look at it and go, oh, I added an extra zero, it gives you that opportunity to fix it. So that's what these green checks, you'll find them peppered throughout the survey. They have edit, that just means they have edit checks associated with the question. Doesn't mean you tripped an edit check, just means that there's one there. So we're not likely to expect your zip code to change. So if you did enter a different zip code this year, that's going to flag. It's going to say, last year you reported this year you're reporting a new zip. Why? And likely when you do that, you're also probably putting in a new street address and it'll be very obvious, but the software will still need you to say, we moved. Or it doesn't have to be a very detailed note, just something that speaks to the situation. Now, if you did have an address change, what you can do with a note instead of having to copy it over and over again, and you're typing in it all the time, when you've written an external note or however many external notes you've written, they'll all show up here with a check next to them. So you might have 16 of these or 5 of these or maybe just 2. But if the note pertains to this field also, instead of typing in here, all you have to do is check one of the boxes and hit add, and it'll copy that note you already wrote. So that's been useful for saving time for lots of folks. And now you see the zip is yellow as well as the legal name because I just copied that same note. So now I know there's something there under zip. Apologies. So moving through the report, some more of the functionality here. Anytime you see a grayed out field, that means the field is locked. And if there's a change to be made, I need to make it. So you can contact me and I can do that for you. A lot of these are a change to the library's name. This happens from time to time. So you'll send me an email saying, hey, our library's name changed. It's now this. And I'll send you back a request saying, great. Send me a copy of the board resolution or something from the board that says our new legal name is this. I'll make the change. We'll take that piece of paper and put it in your file up on the 5th floor of the Library of Michigan, just so we have it, and we'll make that change. Generally, we don't see, it does happen, but we don't see a lot of changes necessary to gray fields. But if you try to enter something in there and You're going nuts because it won't let you do anything. That's why. It just means it's a locked field. I can unlock it. I can make changes to it for you. There's only a few of these on here. Um, so it's not going to be really, it's not a really problematic thing generally. So moving down there, so we have data entry boxes, obviously. We also have drop downs to choose from. We've got radio buttons for binary questions, yes or no's. Some of the just different types of entry boxes. We also have this thing called repeating rows fields. So I'll show you a section of that that could come up. Um, Operating income, these are repeating rows fields. You see there's nothing listed for municipality for us because, you know, we don't have operating municipalities, but your libraries will have that information preloaded. So every year I get an export from the Michigan Department of the Treasury showing the populations, the locations, the counties, their identifier, all of that information, and I import it into your counting opinions file by library. So you won't really have to mess with that. This would be one of those situations where if you don't see a municipality you are currently serving, I need you to contact me. Because state aid is based on a per capita equation, you're basically, well, not basically, you are getting paid by how many people you serve. So I want to make sure I have the right number in here. And if you're missing a municipality that should be on your survey, let me know. I can make that change. A repeating rows field that you're actually going to see expand would be something like certification. Say last year you listed 4 certified personnel, and this year you want to list more than that. Every time you click on one of the entry boxes in a line, it's going to give you a second empty entry box below it. So that's what I mean by it'll expand as you need it to expand. Another thing with this part of the survey, the certification information, what I like to do every year is preload from what you reported last year. So we have several libraries that they list everyone. So they might have 25 people in their certification section. I do not want you to have to type all of that information over again. So I pre-fill from what you put last year in that section. What you can do is if you don't have a certain employee employed with you any longer, if you go over to the red X, you can just remove that line. So now I'm down to, it's never going to let me get below 2 lines as soon as I click in it, but it'll let you remove individual lines if you need to and make adjustments. You can do that. You can also do it manually. If you've got somebody in this line, you can go in and delete each entry box and put in new information. You can do that. That's fine. However you want to do that, it's it's up to you. But so just know that that's an expanding field. If I click there, it's going to give me another one. So there are some libraries that use this to keep track of where multiple employees are in their certification process. You might have somebody that got certification at a level 2 and you're kind of tracking that every year. And okay, they've been a level 2 for 4 years. Great. I bet you they could apply for level 1. So they're in there, contact me or the person that wants to go from a level 2 to a level 1 contacts me and they put in a new certification application. We'll get them moved to a level 1. So that will be in there. It's a repeating rows field that I import the previous year's data. Another repeating rows field are your trustees. Same exact thing. As you click in here, it'll expand. Trustees, I also import the trustees you reported last year, whether their term has expired or not. So you can make changes there, but rather than have to type out 6 or 7 people, they'll already be in there. And then you can make 1 or 2 changes instead of 6 or 7 entries. Just anything I can do to make this a little bit more streamlined, a little bit easier, I'll do that. I'm going to go back up to review here. And let's talk a little bit about navigation. When you're looking over here, you see a table of contents. Now I just hit the review button. So I can scroll through the entire survey section by section. If you want to look at your survey one section at a time, all you have to do is click on the one you're interested in. I'm going to do capital income because I know that one's a pretty short one. And it will just show me capital income. There's no scroll because it's very small. And but for folks that like to see it bite-sized chunks and want to go section by section, table of contents can be very useful. Now, to get out of this, I can either click on another area that I want to work on and it'll take me there. So that's library services, a bit longer section on the survey. Or I can again hit the review button and that opens the whole survey up so you can scroll from part 1 all the way down to part 17. So that's an option. Now, if you want a little wider screen and you plan on, when you're doing your data entry on the survey, just going from section 1 to section 17, you can hide this table of contents. So it just gives you a little bit wider view. It's easy to bring back. You just click on the arrows here and it'll bring it right back for you. I also have a save button here. You can also move previous and next. And if you don't want to click on a specific area, you just want to go part 1, part 2, you can do the next button or go back with previous. That's all available to you. The save button is here pretty much as an extra save. What happens in this specific software is when I enter information here. So I'm gonna change this to, well, the wrong date. I'm gonna put the 24th. When I did that, you might have seen a brief little circle on the right-hand side of the entry box. That means it's saving because this one happens to be a date picker. Now, when I move to the next entry box, it saves again. If I move down and put something in there, as soon as I get out of number 4, put something else in there, saves the survey. So as you move through, it'll save as you go. But you always have the option to hit that save button as well, and that'll force another save. This is valuable because if you're working on, say you're working on question 4, and you type the data in, and then you get distracted. So your cursor is still active in number 4. It doesn't do a save. The save is on the move. So when I move to number 5, that's when the save occurs. So if I get distracted, I have a patron issue to deal with, and any number of things that could happen in a public library while you're working on this. When you come back, whether you're sure or not that you have moved, if you smash that save button, it'll automatically save the survey. So no lost data. Another thing you want to do in that case, if you get distracted or have to attend to another duty, something that takes you away from the computer, go and hit the home button. One of the issues we've had with the software is, for security reasons, it times out, and usually it'll tell you it timed out. But occasionally it'll leave this screen open and you'll be entering things and it's really not saving it because it's lost communication with the LibPath server. So what you want to do is just hit home. When it refreshes to home, if it's logged you out, your username and password block will come up again and it'll ask you to log in. If you're still active, you'll see the enter screen and just hit enter again. It'll take you, does help if you click on the enter button. There it goes, it's loading. It'll take you right back to the survey. There we go. But just as a double check, we've had some data loss in the past. It hasn't been a major problem, but it can be an annoying one. So it's worth it just to hit that home button, make sure you're still logged in, hit enter again and take you right back. Or if it logs you out, it'll ask you for your credentials again and you log back in and you're good to go. One thing you'll definitely notice for that very issue is if you're down in operating income and you've entered data in these fields and you go down to subtotal and the subtotal doesn't look right, it means it probably lost communication with the server. If it's not automatically totaling as you're entering the data above, if it's not automatically totaling here, you've likely lost communication. So you can do 2 things. You can either go back to home and do what I just told you about the login credentials. It'll tell you. But there's the possibility that while it just lost communication with the server, it didn't log you out. And in that case, if you hit Control F5, it forces a manual refresh, and you'll see if you're still logged in, those subtotals will do an auto roll up and they'll be correct. So Control F5 can be your friend there. going back to the home button and seeing if it's making you log in again. That those are two very easy options. The easiest by far is Control F5 and make it refresh. Uh, if if you've walked away from this for an hour and you hit the Control F5, it's going to take you back to the credentials screen anyway, where it'll ask you for your username and password, and you just put those back in and hit enter, and you're good to go again. Some other options for filling out the survey. A lot of libraries part this out. So they'll take a certain section, they'll give their programs officer another section. Somebody who's in charge of circulation will get a third section. You can do that easily on paper if you want to send out paper copies before you do the final data entry. If you go to the print screen here or print option here, you have a couple options. You can do it from a template, which is going to create a PDF, or you can do a screen print, which is just what you'd think. Wow, it's moving a little slow. Um, it'll give you a screen print, but you can also download a PDF of this. And if you do it with breaks, it'll break each section, part one, part two, part three, into a different page. So if you are parting out your survey, which a lot of libraries do that, that's the easiest way to do it if you want to give them a printed page to work off of. You could also print it as a PDF, so send it digitally. Um, totally up to you on that, but that is a useful option to have. Again, moving through, I'm going to go back to review. Okay, so let's talk really quickly about those areas on the report that are asking for current data. Because like I said, most of this is going to be, you know what, let me fix this because this is going to mess with me if I don't. The next time I look at it, I'm going to wonder what was going on there. Okay, get rid of that too. Okay, you see, as I moved through it, it gave me a save little circle every time I moved. I can also hit save just to, it's a security blanket to have the extra save there, and it is useful if you get um, you know, pulled away. Just to have that button. I did remove that, and I think it was way back in 2014. Oh, we don't need that second save. It turns out everybody wanted that second save button there, so it will live there forever now. So we got it back. Okay, so when we're talking about current data, stuff as of the date you're filling out the survey, there are a few sections on here that want the most up-to-date data possible. In part one, for current data, I'd like the director's name and email address of the library director, who's ever there right now filling out the survey, because that's going to be one of my contact points. So if there was a director that left during the reporting period, you're not going to put them there. They will show up on the survey in certification. We want them down there in part 11, but not on part one. So that's one. Part 10, which is library services, down in J, we're asking information about your connection and the speed that you're able to offer patrons. So it's beneficial to be able to do a speed test exactly when you're filling out the survey or when you get to that part of the survey. And I've included a couple of sample speed tests here. So I've got Ookla on here and I've got Google on here. So you can run those speed tests. Just pick one of your computers in the library and run a speed test, and it'll give you a range. It'll show you your connection upload and your connection download. And then I have a range here that you can select. Just pick the category for upload that's within the range and the category for download that's in that whatever range the number it gives you. And that's by location. So if you have multiple locations, do that at each branch. So that's current. Part 11B. So this is both current and old. So if you look at part A, there I want the director who was serving at the time of that fiscal year window. So whoever was there during, if you're on the 7/1 to 6/30, whoever was there during that time period, that's who I want in A. I also want you to repeat that person in B with their departure date. And you can put the departure date in A as well. Number 7 is departure date. We've got departure date here. For B, put the director that's no longer there, but also put the new director in part B. A lot of times when a director leaves, they'll leave at some point in a fiscal year. So if they have the certification done, they will cover the state aid for that library. And you might have a new director that hasn't finished the workshops or is working on completing an MLS or working on completing certification. Put them in there. So we have both, but it's likely that the director that left during your fiscal year will be the one covering the director staffing requirements for your class for that year. So we definitely want both the old director and the new director in part B, but for part A, we want the person who was actually serving during the reporting period. So that's kind of a mixed bag with current and um, when data from the last fiscal year. Another section that's, let me see here. Oh, yes. Current non-resident fees. So some of these will have it right in the name, current non-resident fees. What are you charging right now for a non-resident to have a card? And you can write in if this is a per person, single, single or family, however you're operating right now. So, but that's current information. For millages in part 15, this is current information. So if your millage has expired, don't record it here. In fact, I'll make a caveat. If your millage has expired and you collected no money during your reporting period for that millage, don't report it. If your millage is expired, but you got money for your annual report this year because you're reporting on basically a completed fiscal year, so it's going to be some time before October 1. If you received money for it, put it in here, but make sure that your expiration date is highlighted there. But mostly it's going to be current millage information. Part Part 14. This entire section is current salary information. We do that because we know that we're operating under 9 different fiscal years. But this information is some of the most used by library directors, library trustees, and shareholders, stakeholders, throughout the year. I get so many questions about custom reports using this information. It's more useful to you if we're collecting the current information as of the day you're filling out the report. So basically on part 14, we're all using the same time frame. No matter what your fiscal year is, we're all using the same time frame to collect this information. And we have a section for MLS librarians. We have a section for non-MLS librarians. We have support staff. We have all the way down from computer information technologist to library page. And then we have the binary questions for director benefits, full-time benefits, and part-time benefits. So please only current information here. And if you do not have a position, say your library director or nobody in your library has an MLS, don't put zeros in these fields, just leave them blank. Only fill in information for positions you have or for positions that might not be filled right now, but that you have an established pay range for. So maybe you're looking to hire someone, no one's in it now, but when they are hired, you're looking to pay them between X and Y. That's fine if you have an established pay range. What we don't want to see are zeros for fields. So if you don't have anything there, just leave it blank. And then the last section that has current information, of course, is the signature page on 17. And it's just the authorized official, be it the board president. If The board's delegated the authority to the library director to be the authorized official. You'll have the library director in there. You might have the library director in all three spots. It might be the authorized official, the contact person, and the director. Generally, it's authorized officials, usually the board president, and then the contact person is who you want me to contact if I have questions. So if that's not you, that's fine. Put in the staff member that you want me to contact if I see something that I have questions about. And that's who I'll contact first. I won't go right to you. I'll go to whoever you name there in contact person. And then, of course, the last lines are for the director. So we want that information. And that's the director who's filling out the report. So if you had a director that is no longer employed by the library, their name shouldn't appear there. It's going to be you. Unless, and we see this sometimes, the director hasn't left yet and they do the report. And we've seen that a lot where, okay, before I leave, before I retire, before I go find go to a new situation, I'll do them this favor and I'll fill out the annual report. It'll be all done for them. So a new director doesn't have to worry about that as they're coming in trying to fill out activity that occurred before they even got there. So sometimes we will see that past director listed there, but that's only if they put their information in and submit the report. And that's all the sections that would be current information. Everything else is whatever happened during your last completed fiscal year. So let's say we got through all of this. All of our entry boxes are filled. We're done. We've completed everything. It's time to get this off our plates, send it to the Library of Michigan, and be done with it. The first thing you're going to do is come up here to the right and hit verify. Verify is a very useful feature because what verify will do is it'll show you where edit checks are tripped or where there's blank information. In a big pink box, I'm going to show you that now. I'm going to have a whole bunch because it's the Library of Michigan. There's nothing in here. So the pink box is huge for me. And it's telling you where on the survey the problem is, but you'll notice it doesn't say parts. So federal employee identification number, I've been doing this since 2013. I know that's in part one, but it's not telling you that. What verify does in addition to listing out the problems is it shows where the problems are as you scroll through the survey with this deep red line right under the problem area. And it'll show that all through the survey. Anytime it needs data. So you see, I've left library establishment type blank because we're the Library of Michigan. My establishment type is not on here. Um, it'll tell you where the problems need to be fixed as you move through. So you go through there and you might hit verify a couple of times as you're working to make that list. Oops, list smaller and smaller. When you've satisfied all of the edit checks, this list will still, or the list won't appear. The pink box will appear, but in large letters, I think it's 28-point font. It will say verified, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. When you see that, you can move to submit lock. You're done. What'll happen is after you hit submit lock, after you've done the verify checks, you're going to get red text right here that says locked, and you'll see a padlock in the upper corner, a gold padlock with a silver hasp right in the corner. You see that symbol? It means I've got your report and we're all done until we start vetting. And I might have some questions, I might not, but it's in. We've received it at that point. It's important to note this one issue though. If you want to look at what was reported last year at any time, you can do that. All you have to do is take this period and adjust it. So this year's survey is going to read FY2025-26. That's what we're working on now. If I wanted to see last year, it's going to be 24-25, which again is based on my time frame and not yours. So 24-25 was last year's. When this loads, it's going to show me locked red text and a padlock because everybody got their surveys in last year. I get questions occasionally where somebody will look at last year's, have some other duty pop up, and they've got to go, and this might log out, and they log back in, and they see the locked and the padlock, and I'll get the call, hey, somehow I've locked my survey. What LibPass does is if you go look at the previous year's survey and then log out, the next time you come in, it's going to default to the period you were looking at and not necessarily the 25, 26, the current period. It does that because well, they needed the last year's. They'll probably still need the last year's when they come back in. So it defaults to that. So all you have to do in that situation, and you can call me, I'm happy to talk to you and we'll look at it and go, oh, no, wait, it's last year's. Just change your period. Um, all you have to do is come up here and go back to the top, the very top row, which is 25, 26, and it'll open your survey back up and you see the red locked text is gone, the padlock is gone, your survey's open, and you can continue to complete. But yeah, if you look at a previous year's and then leave, it will default to that last year you were looking at. And that does trip some folks up sometimes when you're logging in, you're expecting to put something in and you see locked and a padlock, it can throw you a little bit. Just make sure your period is the top one and you'll be fine. So say we verified and I get that 28-point font that says verified in the corner. I'm ready to submit lock. Once you do that, you're good to go. It shows the padlock, shows locked red text. Now, if I start with submit lock, you see with verify, like I said, gives you that big pink box and it shows you where the problems are all the way through. If I start with submit lock, if there's a problem, it's not going to let me submit lock. What it will do is bring up this box, which is even less useful than the pink box because all you get is this box. You'll notice I can't, I can scroll through the survey. It's showing me it doesn't even show me my verified checks. All those red lines are gone. It doesn't tell you as much information as the verified is. It does. I mean, it'll list the data elements where there are problems, but it's not going to show you where they are in the survey. So this is your last step. Submit lock is the last thing you do. It won't hurt anything if you hit it. If you just wanted to take a look at this for whatever reason, you can see for me, I've got no valid value for required indicator. That means it's blank. You can always look at that. Won't hurt anything. Just close it, and you're back to going to verify, submit lock, or going through your survey again. Once you're done with this, you can and if you want a copy for your records and you print it out, because you do have that print option. If you print it out using the template, it'll give you a pre-filled PDF, which I'm still updating for this year, so that's not available right now, but it will be. If you print it before you lock, it'll have the watermark draft across it in a large diagonal line. It'll be significantly sized. You'll know that you've printed a draft. If you want a copy without draft, don't print it until after you've locked it. So let me show you last year's really quickly, just so you can kind of see what it looks like. So go to 24, 25. Actually, I'm not sure what it's going to show me for Library of Michigan. Well, let's see. So I'm going to go to template, and it's going to chew on it for a little bit. There we go. Okay, gave me a PDF. So obviously you can see mine's a lot of blanks. Any of these fields, they're aggregated from everything you guys have put in because this is the parent account or super user account. But this is what it'll give you. So if I did this before I locked, it would say draft right in the center of the document. But since I've done this after I've locked, you don't get that. It's just the clean document that you can print out to put in your records. We keep 5 years worth in our records. But yeah, if you want your own copy in your files, you can absolutely do that. Share this with the board. It's a lot cleaner looking than if you just do, and let me back out of here real quick. If you just do the screen print, I think the PDF looks a lot better. So you can do the screen print. It's up to you. So if I download this PDF with breaks, so I'm going to get a different page for each section on the report. I'm not wild about how that looks. Again, you'll get some odd blanks. And if you have Adobe Standard or Pro, you can go in and remove those pages. You can edit the PDF and just get rid of them. But if you just have Reader, um, you could do file print and choose not to print page 332, and it's pretty big. Um, the PDF, I usually print them double-sided, cut down on paper, and usually a library's report is no more than 11 pages. If you're a large library with multiple outlets, it's going to be a lot longer because when you print this, it'll give you a page for each outlet and any of the outlet data you put for your branch. And that's when I say that, I mean, okay, let me get rid of this. When we look at part two here with the outlet information, it'll generate a page for each of the outlets you have listed. So that can contribute to a little longer print depending on how many locations you have. So that's the printing. Again, if you have questions as you're moving through this survey, do not hesitate to contact us. We're happy to do it. I will say to the folks that haven't done one of these before, in terms of my availability to answer questions, if you want to get this out of the way in October or November, and of course I've got a caveat with October, but generally I have the least amount of questions. A lot of libraries will wait until after Christmas to do this. January is jam-packed with folks and questions. If you want more, a quicker turnaround time on questions, basically, there's a lot less volume for me in October and November. So my response rate to you will be much, much faster in October and November. So the caveat that I mentioned for that is come October 1st, we're not sure what's going to happen. I can tell you that LibPass will be operating. You will be able to get into this, but if we have a state government shutdown due to no budget, I can't answer email. I can't answer phones. I will be unavailable for however long the shutdown lasts. We don't we don't anticipate a long shutdown, but we're up in the air. We know about as much as you do on what's going to happen. So the software will be open. Feel free to go in there and enter what you'd like. Feel free to go in there and just explore it. You're not going to break anything. So feel free to do that. Just know that while we're shut down, I'm not ignoring you. I can't answer you. I won't even see it. I can't open my email. I'm obviously not going to go in the building. So there'll be that initial period. I just won't be there. But as soon as we come back, I'm ready to answer questions. Another thing that I just realized I didn't cover on here, and this is purely for you. It doesn't change your submission. I don't use it for anything, but just for you, you see these check boxes here on the left side of the survey. Those are just for you. If you want to, basically they're a bookmark. If you want to put a check mark in, okay, I cut off at number 19. The next time you come in, you see the check mark. Okay, this is where I left off. They don't trip edit checks. They don't add or take anything away from the survey, purely for your use if you choose to use them. It's just a visual reminder for you of where you left off, and that's it. But they are available for you.